Hi, Mason. Thanks for helping my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Mason Robbins, call sign Doc with the Inspired 24 group. Fun story about the call sign. I actually have had it since 2002 when I went to space camp, and I have a middle name that starts with a D, and they're like, danger doesn't work, so let's call you Doc. And so all these years later, I have a PhD, so I guess it's kind of apropos that I'm Doc. But yeah, so I'm up here in Unst, Shetland, at Sexford Spaceport, in charge of everything education, innovation, skills, outreach, basically any of the non-tangible stuff that a spaceport would go about needing or wanting or doing, just to bring it together and bring the community together.
Wow, I think that maybe something people aren't familiar with. Can you talk about kind of like what makes your job unique?
Yeah, so in a lot of ways, spaceports are about providing opportunities to get satellites or rockets into space. And so when you look at places like Spaceport America or in New Zealand or Kodiak Island, unless it's a spaceport that's directly connected with a university setting or someone like NASA that does a lot of research, there's actually not a lot that goes around like, well, what does a spaceport mean? What does it mean to engage with the community? What are those opportunities? And so we found that there was a real niche, especially here, that's kind of growing, that we're in Highlands and Islands area of Scotland. We're as far north as you can get. I'm closer to the Arctic Circle than I am to Edinburgh. So we're really remote. So we looked at that opportunity as, all right, how can we engage with local schools and really the community from age 1 to 101, I like to always joke around about, of how space is actually important to your daily lives and what the future of space looks like. Because it's no longer that traditional thought of, all right, it's just ex-military people or current military people getting on rockets and going. But what does it mean when NASA talks about it took 450,000 people to put 3 people on the moon? And what does that look like? And then what are those future jobs? And especially for Shetland, the environment here, the society is very based either on farming, fishing, or the oil industry. And we've really been backed by the oil industry since the 70s. Well, as we're moving to net zero and looking at the future of energy, we're moving away from those oil industries. And so at the end of the day, people are starting to worry about skills and jobs and everything. So part of the role here is utilizing space and this opportunity that we have now in the community to upskill and reskill, to a point that either people who might feel like they're losing their job have opportunity, or kids who go away from the islands thinking they don't have an opportunity can come back. And then now taking this and going further afield of what does this look like for a kid that lives in rural highlands. Or I even was at Los Alamos National Laboratories about 2 months ago talking about how can we copy some of the lessons we're learning here and help assist with engaging of like the native population, Pueblo populations, indigenous people populations that feel kind of left out of high-tech areas as well. So yeah, that's kind of how it's unique. It's fun because any given day I'm in a school working with 6, 7, 8-year-olds building Lego robots, to the next day working on initiatives for neurodiversity and training and giving people from every different kind of background opportunities to just live, work, and eventually play in space.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I think back to my childhood and to like my kids and things. I mean, they're pretty much only inspired to choose jobs that they see in their daily lives. I mean, so many kids, what do you want to be? Well, I like to be a teacher or a doctor, and that's like the only jobs that they see. So I think there's a huge opportunity that you're kind of tapping into there.
Definitely. I'm definitely a firm believer, and the more that I dive into this and go full on of what the opportunity for education in space could be, is the jobs of tomorrow are in space. So I love going and telling a little 6-year-old kid that, hey, your family comes from a family line of farmers, or over here we call them crofters. We're going to need crofters on the moon because we're going to be living on the moon. We're going to need plumbers on the moon. We're going to need electricians going to Mars. We're going to need these jobs that you didn't ever think about that you're doing now, are going to be translatable. And then there's going to be a long, broad range of jobs that we don't even know of today or can't even think of today. I mean, it's been what, 111, 112 years since humans first flew. And now we're already talking about living on the moon and then going to Mars. So in basically a century, a little over a century, we've done that. What's the next even 10 years going to look like because of how fast society is growing? So
I know I was like reading or listening to this science fiction book where, you know, it's the first trip to Mars, and like these researchers at Stanford figured out how to create like portals, and so they like actually arrive there ahead of the people and actually watch it. Everybody's like pissed off at them. You know, but,
oh yeah, that's
so how'd you get started and involved in Inspired 24?
yeah. I it was actually through Uplift Aerospace and Space Plus. I had the pleasure of hosting Mike Mongo over here for the second time. He came over to Shetland and ran astronaut job camp for the kids, and it's brilliant because it boils down to is we're giving you permission to think about being able to live, work, and play in space. And from that, he had just been announced as one of the Space Plus 5 crew. And he said, hey, check this out. Well, I checked it out, got involved. And then I met Titan, who is very apropos of his name, Titan. And he said, hey, you're doing stuff in space. I had met Chris Sembrowski and got to know his story and everything. And it was like, wow, this is amazing. And looking for these opportunities. What can we do next? And Titan, Andrew, said, well, why don't you check out Inspired 24? And come join the family and just utilize it as let's work together to grow the footprint in the UK, but also bring your energy and then we'll share ours, and just this collaborative ecosystem of let's make space for all and give access to as many people as possible. So it's kind of a roundabout way, but in the same sense as it was such a natural fit that it was like, why didn't I discover this before?
So, and unfortunately, I kind of pressed for time on my way to work this morning, and the traffic is horrible. But I wanted to get your take on this question in particular. When you think about the future of humanity, like say 200 years from now, what does it look like to you?
It's funny because this kind of relates to a question that I had during Space Week of what's beyond the universe. And I think what 200 years looks to me is, I think, only bound by our imagination and creativity. And as long as we have that constant want to explore and find out what's out there, I think it's an unlimited possibility of where we could be in 100, 200, 300, 700 years from now. But in the same sense as we're on that precipice, or we're in, I would say, a new golden age that we have the chance, like groups like Space Kind, to bring people together to talk about what we want our future in space to look like. Are we a Star Wars with warring sides? Are we a Star Trek? Are working all together? Are we somewhere in between? Do we carry on that Jedi mindset? Do we completely abandon it because of interests of corporations that don't think the same as what humanity wants? Do we come together? Do we not? It's so hard to say. So like, how deep is the ocean? How long is a piece of string type of thing? What does humanity look in 500, 200, 1,000 years? I think it's just going to be limited by where we want to take it as a whole. And it's going to depend on what we want as a whole to get there. So that's my answer, not answer. I was probably a politician in a previous life.
Or in the next one. You know, it could be prepared. Yeah. I mean, it's like the last person to step foot on the moon became a senator. So
yeah, exactly. But it's a challenge too, because we're going to change how people see humanity and see the world. And that's the other thing. It's talked about the last person to step on the moon became a senator, but even the first few who stepped on the moon struggled with mental health and all that. So you've got that broad spectrum of, once we start achieving these, we also have that duty of care, that duty of responsibility. I mean, as we start taking kids to space, what does that change for them? Do they become like childhood celebrities and have those pressures? Or is it something that they build on, and it's building on their shoulders of giants to something even greater that we can't imagine? So yeah, it's always interesting. Sorry, I could talk about this for hours. I know you're.
I know, me too. Pressed. Me too. I hate time pressures.
Yeah.
Well, Mason, I thank you so much. I I'd love to come visit you sometime and see what you're doing up there. And
Definitely.
would love to have you come down to Houston sometime.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
you know, Andrew's down here. We could, so.
Yeah, no, I would love to touch wood. Hopefully in early 2023, we'll start having rocket launches. Then love to have everyone up who wants to come see a vertical launch from the UK. And yeah, I'm originally from Oklahoma, New Mexico. So occasionally I'm in the area. So next chance I get to Houston, I definitely want to take advantage of it. So it'd be a pleasure both ways.
Well, thank you so much, Mason. I look forward to seeing the future you build and the future you inspire and seeing it actually unfold in front of us.
Oh, thank you again for taking the time to reach out and connecting. This has been a pleasure.
Well, you have a good rest of your day. Hope it's very productive.
Thanks. You as well, and safe travels in that traffic.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.